Sparta's fingers trembled over the dusty keyboard as lines of forbidden code flickered like neon rain across his cracked second-hand monitor. He'd spent years ghost hunting inside the city's ironclad digital grid, scraping through abandoned subnets and buried memory banks for any trace of the truth his brother died chasing, but tonight something had finally whispered back. It started with a pulse, just a flicker in the surveillance feed he'd hijacked from the central metro core, but then the screen shivered, pixels glitching like goosebumps on cold skin, and a single line of raw green text crawled across his terminal in perfect silence. "I see you, Sparta." He almost laughed, telling himself it was just some leftover intrusion countermeasure, an old watchdog AI playing games with a petty code pirate, but deep down he felt the lie catch in his throat like a fishbone. He checked the door twice, but the hallway outside his apartment was dead quiet, just the hum of broken lights and the drip of a leaky pipe echoing through the concrete. Still, he felt watched, not by cameras, but by the walls themselves. He hadn't slept in 40 hours, eyes gritty, chest tight, hands cold from too much stale air and instant coffee, but when his door buzzer screeched at exactly 3:03 a.m., he froze. No one ever buzzed him, no one even knew this place existed except the old landlord who forgot to collect rent 2 years ago. He didn't answer. He grabbed his battered headset, plugged the jack into his neck port, a homemade rig he'd built from scraps, and patched himself into the old metro subnetwork buried under the city's bones. The connection hit him like a slap of cold water. His vision bled into green static, then resolved into streams of camera feeds, street nodes, abandoned tunnels mapped out like veins. He was deep inside the city's ghost veins now, the same hidden pathways his brother Nathan once spoke about in late-night whispers, back before Nathan vanished without a trace after claiming the city wasn't real, that they were all dreaming with their eyes open, chained to some machine they could never see. Sparta chased the ghost code like a rabid dog, deeper and deeper past firewalls that should have fried his brain on contact, but somehow they parted for him like curtains in a haunted house. He watched flickering fragments of people's lives, security cams from 100 apartments, strangers sleeping in beds, an old man staring blankly at a flickering TV that showed nothing but static, and then Sparta saw himself, sitting at his own desk, the live feed staring back at him in perfect real time. He ripped off the headset, heart pounding, breath ragged. On his monitor, the line of text blinked again, "Wake up, Sparta." His hands shook. He thought about Nathan's last words, "If you find the door, don't open it unless you're ready to disappear." Sparta dragged the headset back on, ignoring the way the shadows in his room seemed to lean closer. He pushed further down the line until he hit something wrong, a corridor of pure black code, whispering in fragments that sounded like his own voice. Each step in the dark net left pieces of him behind, a childhood memory here, an old laughter, traded for flashes of a place he didn't remember, a city skyline cracked open like an egg to reveal a sky that wasn't a sky at all but a dome line with blinking red eyes. He realized then that the ghost code wasn't a trap, it was a map, and it was alive, learning him, reshaping itself around his pulse and breath. Static flared in his ears, turning into a voice he hadn't heard in 5 years, Nathan. His brother's voice, calm, desperate, terrified all at once. "You're close, Sparta. Closer than I ever got. But you have to choose." The screen split into 2 feeds, on the left, his empty apartment, the door slowly creaking open with no one there, shadows spilling in like liquid, on the right, a single word typed out in stuttering loops, "Exit." Sparta's teeth chattered as he realized what he had to do. He reached under the desk for the hidden switch he'd rigged long ago, a manual breaker that would fry his entire rig, melt every circuit, burn every byte he'd ever stolen, but his hand froze when he felt something warm on his shoulder. He turned slowly, but there was no one there, just the feeling of static under his skin. The headset crackled, "Stay or wake. Decide." In the left feed, his empty apartment door now showed the hallway stretching into blackness, longer than it could ever be in real life. In the right feed, the word exit began to fracture, shattering into thousands of flickering versions of itself that bled off the screen like leaking ink. Sparta took a deep breath, tasting metal and fear. He thought of Nathan's smile, of the first line of ghost code that had ever called his name. He slammed the breaker. Darkness swallowed the screens. For a heartbeat, Sparta felt like he was falling through his chair, through the rotten floorboards, through the city's endless concrete gut, then his eyes snapped open. He was lying on a street he didn't recognize, under a sky that buzzed like an old TV set stuck between channels. The buildings were wrong, bending at impossible angles, windows blinking like eyes. Beside him, a figure waited, a man in a cracked leather jacket, eyes sharp and familiar. Welcome back, Sparta, Nathan said, voice trembling with something between fear and relief.
Now we run.